There is a lot I need to say. A lot of revelations have been bestowed upon me following the most recent Archon quest regarding the tragedy of Direidyth, our twin lying to us regarding Khaenri'ah, and though it pains me to admit it, contrary to what the Abyss sibling believes, I don't think in this moment Istaroth was mocking them. I think she's helping them, because it seems like there is indeed internal strife with the shades of the heavenly principles. So no jokes, no humor, one scary image, and then we need to focus. Let us begin. Direidyth's tale is perhaps the most tragic in all of Genshin. Once a hopeful young girl who wished to spread her wings and see beyond the eggshell, as an adult she wished to save her homeland from a foretold disaster by finding the savior. In the end, her actions brought about nothing but doom for her, and the savior she believed would deliver them all. Some were confused regarding the situation of the three keys and how it couldn't be a paradox because we know the origin of the third key. Allow me to break it down one final time. 500 years ago, when the twin was found by Direidyth, Direidyth presented a key to her. In that moment, three keys existed. One belonging to our twin, one still on the Traveler in their hibernation pod, and the one Direidyth brought back through time given to her 500 years in the future by the Traveler in this very moment. A third key was never made. It only exists because the timeline for this moment is constantly resetting itself 500 years in the past. The Direidyth standing before us is mere moments away from going back in time 500 years with our key in tow to give the key to the sibiling who's going to find and awaken the Traveler and try and leave Teyvat, thus starting the game all over again, leading to the inevitability of this meeting between the three of us, causing another loop infinitely repeating. This isn't about where the key came from. The crux of the issue is the third key only exists simply because it already did. In short, the key exists solely because the timeline says it must, but the timeline only says that because the key exists. The reason this is paradoxical is because this is effect coming before cause. The future is affecting the past. That's impossible. To grab a greater understanding of what I mean, for this impossibility to arise, there's two factors that had to come into play. The first is Istaroth, the Shade of Time, bending the rules of time, for a reason we'll get into shortly, but the second is the Abyss sibling themselves, 500 years in the future. As noted by them, their actions in the future set everything in the past in motion. Quote, so my actions 500 years in the future set everything in motion. Are you mocking me, Istaroth? They were the ones who created the template Khaenri'ah and placed it over Notlun so that the Direidyth of the past had the ability to interact with the Traveler of the future, in turn setting everything in motion. Istaroth merely made it an inevitability. So when the Traveler says Direidyth succeeded in bringing together the twins of different timelines, here's what he meant. She reunited the present-day Traveler with the sibling from 500 years ago by presenting a future key to a past soul. This is the true tragedy of Direidyth's tale. She sought a savior to deliver Khaenri'ah from ruin, but in her own devotion to her own personal savior, she brought about the nation's downfall, because the sibling chose one person, their brother, over an entire nation. And what did Direidyth gain for her sacrifice? Nothing but a fallen homeland and the curse of the wilderness. She's now forced to forever wander the world as a hilly girl, so broken that even in this monstrous form, she chooses to flee over fight. She once dreamed of reaching beyond the stars, but instead, she became a pawn in a game played by the gods. But what was that game? This leads us back to Istaroth's intent. While the Abyss sibling believes Istaroth mocked them, I believe the opposite. Without Istaroth, The twins never reunite. She made it so Direidyth gained a hibernation key, an artifact possessed by only two beings in all of Teyvat, the Traveler and their sibling, and then Istaroth ensured Direidyth returned 500 years into the past where she would inevitably find the sibling. This made it so when Direidyth approached the sibling had to listen, had to believe her claims that her brother, the Traveler, is looking for her, and the way she validated her claims was through the hibernation key. Lumine even admits she didn't believe in Direidyth's tale until she saw the key. Quote, "I was stunned, and I was suspicious of her claim that you were searching for me, but then she showed me the key to your hibernation chamber." What happened next changed everything. The sibling, once preparing to stand with Khaenri'ah in its final hour, instead chose to abandon it. She turned her back on war, left the nation, found her sibling, and chose to leave the world. And perhaps this was Istaroth's true goal all along, to keep the sibling away from Khaenri'ah, to nudge her and her brother toward leaving Teyvat altogether. Now, why do I say that? Because the moment the twins tried to leave this world, the sustainer of heavenly principles appeared and declared, "Your journey ends here."
Outlanders, your journey ends here. Who are you? The sustainer of heavenly principles. The arrogation of mankind ends now.
Istaroth has long been the most suspicious shade of the bunch, constantly acting on her own accord. She alone answered the cries of the Ankonomians when the others wouldn't. She alone aided Makoto in freeing Inazuma from the clutches of the heavenly principles. So what's one more active insubordination in attempting to free the twins from this world, one of which is a descender? Now what's the fate of descenders on this world? One was killed, another turned into Gnosis. So what if the sustainer of heavenly principles wasn't merely eavesdropping on the Abyss siblings' plans? What if she came to verify, to uncover what truly happened 500 years ago? What caused the descender and their sibling to suddenly wish to flee the world? Because we must keep in mind, the heavens were aware the moment Khaenri'ah summoned the twins.
You look really upset. Well, since Irminsul was a dead end, I guess I can share some other info that might interest you.
Huh? About what?
The reason why there are records about your sister in Irminsul. It might have something to do with Khaenri'ah. Apparently, Khaenri'ah was her first destination when she arrived in this world. Plus, she only came to this world because the heavens responded to the summoning.
The heavens responded?
The Jester told me this himself. You can take his word on this. He was a royal mage in Khaenri'ah, and lived with your sister for a time.
While we don't know how they responded, this should at the very least confirm they were aware, and what happens next? Nothing. The sibling would proceed to live in Khaenri'ah for many years, acting as their princess with no recourse from the heavenly principles. It's almost as if they were content with the siblings residing in this world. Or, if we really wanted to look closely at Scaramouche's words, he said the only reason the twins came to this world was because the heavens responded to the summoning. If Khaenri'ah was simply fishing for descenders out in the universe, but the heavenly principles chose the twins, then they have a lot more control over this entire thing than we first thought, and it makes sense why then the heavenly principles did nothing while the twins were in Teyvat. They wanted them here. For a reason maybe Istaroth didn't agree with. But Istaroth was nowhere to be found, and better yet, given her past transgressions, may be in a state where she can't intervene directly, so nothing came of her concerns. The twins continued residing within Teyvat, all in accordance with whatever reason the heavenly principles wanted them here, but then something happened. Then the cataclysm struck, and perhaps, just perhaps, this was the moment Istaroth saw her chance. The heavens were distracted because the world was in chaos, and so she moved, tried to guide the twins out to freedom, but the Sustainer returned, and she made one thing crystal clear: the siblings would not be leaving Teyvat. The reason for this is anyone's guess. Perhaps a descender truly is that valuable to the world. Maybe it's because the Sustainer is passing and a new god will be needed soon. There's simply too many uncertainties to say either way, but you know what isn't uncertain? Our sibling lied. In admitting they abandoned Conria, they lied. They did nothing as they watched their people turn into monsters of the abyss, yet they accused Dain of that.
While he watched the people he was supposed to protect turn into monsters of the abyss.
They failed to prevent the disaster of Conria, yet they accused Dain of that.
500 years ago, he failed to prevent the destruction of Conria.
So tell me, by spewing these words to Dainsleif, was this just projection or the desperate cries of a baby-back bitch who can't bear the weight of their own guilt? Tomorrow we discuss the timeline of the twins' arrival on Teyvat. Goodbye.